mechanisms would be different from the past. The past was about zoning and bonuses related to increased density and money that would flow back to Harbourfront for increased cultural programming. The new paradigm was going to be design-based, the themes of leading with landscape. This is where the Waterfront is different. There's so many funded landscape projects, landscape urbanism, which is fundamentally different from the rest of the city we live in. I mean, that's a really unique characteristic. The second thing is that it really is about permeating design over numbers and really looking at a new agenda for design excellence and sustainability. That's why I decided that I would be the chair of the design panel, because I heard the platform and the policy agenda that John Campbell, the head of then the TWRC and now Waterfront Toronto, laid out. So this is it. It's everything you know. I think these are the most important issues. And it's in relationship to bigger issues at the provincial level, the freezing of the Greenbelt after they gave it away to so much suburban development, the province finally frozen. These are the principles that I think are fundamental. The most important being, I think, one of them being market transformation, that in fact you can actually lead the market by creating something that people actually like rather than just saying, well, we're following the market. And we've seen that happen in Toronto in some of the residential projects. This is our design panel. It's multidisciplinary. And when we put this panel together, we thought that if it's going to be peer reviewed, let's be reviewed by people who have actually done some really great urban buildings and landscapes. This is the scope of design review. One of the big differences on the waterfront is that it's led by precinct planning, comprehensive precinct planning, as opposed to just simple zoning. And it's focused on the public realm. So there's been a huge amount of work in terms of the design, the specific design, the detailed design, the sustainable design of the public realm. And I believe it needs more design competitions, because the best projects on the waterfront so far, in my mind, are the central waterfront that West 8 and Detroit Alsop Collier won, and the mouth of the Don River, the naturalization of it that Michael Van Valkenburg and Ken Greenburg and their expanded team won. This, I'm just going to walk you through some of the things that I think are absolutely the most important things. The first is, I think this is the most important project, because it is attempting to make an intervention on the part of the waterfront that's just really grim. Everything west of Jarvis is really tough, and it represents decades of, I think, of, you know, some good achievements, but a lot of bad achievements too. And we can't start again. We'd like to be nice to just take it all down, but the reality is sometimes it takes someone from outside to actually see it as it is and make the proposal. So West 8 comes along out of Rotterdam. So did Foster. Three of the four teams proposed exactly the same thing, which is to shut down the south lanes of Queens Quay and make a continuous tree-lined promenade right across the waterfront in front of the condos. And it's going through an EA now. The second thing they did was they proposed that they would actually expand the heads of the slips and make bridges and really make a continuous language of public realm along the water's edge. The second major project I think is really important is the park that Michael Van Valkenburg is doing at the east end of Front Street. In the future, you'll go, it's being built right now, but it's about flood control. Ken will probably touch on that. The third one is what Ken is working on, which is the naturalization of the mouth of the Don River. Who could imagine that you could actually renaturalize the mouth of a river? So this is the West 8 project before, you know, the Wongandansky Towers, but Queens Quay, you can see it. It almost looks like another piece of the John Hartman painting. Some good work has been done. This is Architects Alliance, the boardwalk, and in fact, it's very similar to what West 8 is proposing, just south of Alzheimer's Queens Quay Terminal and the power plant. You can also see HTO Park. You know, John Van Oster and a colleague of mine said the reason people don't love this waterfront is they all have cottages and they go up north. Well, we don't all have cottages. We don't all go up north. It's just not possible. That's not the reason that people don't go to the waterfront. People don't go there because it's not very nice. And it's hard to get to. So these are the projects. Hugo Hinsley was asking, he's aware of this competition, what's happening on the waterfront, but there are a series of heads of the slips. They're quays, the lands are quays, the slips are water, and the mayor had identified the lack of pedestrian space for bicycles and walkers and people with strollers along at the heads of the slope. So it started with a little problem where he was getting a lot of complaints from local residents. And then Chris Glasik at the Toronto Waterfront actually proposed an international competition, and everyone said, why would you do that? It's so bad. And he asked me, and I said, I think it's the greatest idea you've ever come up with. And so they did the competition, and I still believe it's one of the strongest ideas because it's trying to rethink the hardest part of the entire waterfront. So these are the bridges. So there's a series of linking bridges out there at the ends of the quays. And these are the incredible images they propose. Only a European could make those trees, like, I don't know, they must be 90 feet high, but I'm sure they were tongue-in-cheek because it masks out all some of the ugliest architecture in the world. And then this is the Spadina Bridge, but they really got into the language of timber and industrial construction. And then, you know, just rethinking Queens Quay, very, very important. That's the south side, so a double row of trees, narrowing the lanes down, slowing down traffic, public transit. And then they actually built it. And they came to design review, and guess what the issues were? Safety, you know, slope analysis. Where do you need guardrails? And here are these guys from Rotterdam, and you know, if you had railings around the canals of Amsterdam, it wouldn't be Amsterdam. Every year, I think 20 cars go into the brink. You know, people get drunk, but I don't think anyone dies. So, but this is absolutely fabulous. I think it is, because it does what the mayor asked for, which is to increase the real estate at the heads of the slope by building over water. And I've never seen landscape architects so tectonically focused in terms of how to make things. Really beautiful piece of construction. This is it here, and they have red lights underneath. But they're doing more, because they have to do more. You have to build more. So this is Reese. There's a different sort of typology of these kind of wave decks. And then, of course, they're starting to get crazier. So here's, you start to see railings show up at Simcoe. But these are all ready to go now. This is now ready to start construction. The first bridge now is going forward, and a very beautiful rendering. Queens Quay transit orientation. Think of Queens Quay as one of those green lines on the big grid that we started with. And then the precinct plans leading to what Ken will present, but there are three. One is the West Donlands. This little park here in the elbow of the Bayview is sort of River Park, which is Michael Van Valkenburg's project. And then the East Bayfront, which is front row and center, and the Lower Donlands. It's interesting to me that they were both master planned by Americans. Urban Design Associates from Pittsburgh, Coder Tim, like he wrote the book, pretty much. He and Colin wrote, but they're basically streets and blocks plans. And we inherited them. We didn't do them. We just said, okay, that's what we're working with. But it's interesting the language of architecture in relationship to the urban plan. The one on the left being a kind of mid-rise new urbanism, and the one on the right being a kind of American rational scheme. This is the West Donlands. You know, what I like is that they're large precincts where you can actually do a number of things. Front Street will be amazing, I think, because it's entirely biased. It'll be a very wide sidewalk on the north side coming into Michael Van Valkenburg's park. He's also doing this little river park. But this was what Urban Design Associates showed us to be Toronto the Good. Could be anywhere. It could be Denver. These are the projects that are occurring, and I'm very excited that they are being designed by some really interesting architects. So Van Valkenburg on Don River Park. Front Street is done by Greg Smallenberg. River City is Saucier. Gilles Saucier is designing on two sites, straddling Eastern Boulevard. TCHC is Toronto Community Housing Corporation. Affordable housing, market housing, and that's Baird Sampson Newark. And then Stephen Hall is doing the District Energy Center, which is dealing with the entire precinct. So each precinct has its own district energy plan. So just some of the highlights, some of the very high caliber landscaping. This is the way Urban Design Associates see it, and this is the way Saucier sees it. And